Statistically, who are the best and worst managers in the Championship? Let's find out. I've gone ahead and grabbed every Championship manager and their record at this level, and in today's video we're going to be pitting them up against one another. Now, as of recording, we only have 23 Championship managers to rank, as Cardiff are yet to hire a new boss. By the time you guys are watching this, they might have hired a new manager, but as of recording this video, we only have 23 Championship bosses to rank. How highly do you rate the manager currently at your club? Let me know down below. But without any further ado, let's get into the ranking. And at the bottom of the ranking, it is Portsmouth boss John Mousinho, who's only averaged 0.56 points per game at this level so far. Now, this ranking does reflect quite harshly on the Pompey boss. He's only managed 9 games so far, and several of those games have been against really high quality opposition. As he manages more matches, you'd expect that points per game record to rise in the coming months, but as of recording right now during this international break, Mousinho does rank at the bottom of the pile. Coming in 22nd place, it's Derby County manager Paul Warne. Throughout his Championship career, he's averaged 0.90 points per game, obviously. He does have 3 relegations on his CV previously with Rotherham United. That's more relegations than any other manager on this list today, but he was always battling against the elements during his time with Rotherham, having by far and away the lowest budget in the league. And I think what we've seen from Warne's Derby County side so far this season is that his side can be really competitive this season, and if Derby continue to perform like they have been recently, you'd expect his record to get gradually better as the season goes on. 21st in this ranking, we have the new Stoke City boss Narcis Pelach. In total, he's actually managed 7 games in the Championship. Before taking the Stoke City job, he had taken charge of 3 Huddersfield Town games previously as an interim manager, and throughout those 7 games, he's got a points per game record in the Championship of 1.00. Obviously, worth pointing out, Steven Schumacher did have a better points per game record than Pelach in the Championship, but it's very early days with the Stoke boss, and we can't make too many sweeping statements about him right now because it's a new look Stoke side that we're getting to know under him. 20th in this ranking, it's Wayne Rooney up next, the Plymouth Argyle boss, who's actually managed over 100 Championship matches now, which is really quite impressive when you think about it. Rooney's actually one of the more experienced managers in Championship terms compared to a lot of other bosses on this list, but obviously had a couple of seasons with Derby County previously. And to be honest, those seasons at Derby have probably gone a little bit underrated in terms of what Rooney was actually able to achieve there, because he was absolutely hammered and, continued to be beaten over the head with how bad that stint at Birmingham was. But there's been a bit more promise from his Plymouth side recently, and 1.09 points per game. Listen, it's by no means miraculous, but Rooney's always gone into troublesome positions. That was certainly the case at Derby. Plymouth this season were one of the most fancied side to go down as well, but there's no reason why his record can't continue to climb in these coming years. 19th on this ranking, it's Blackburn Rovers boss John Eustace, who's taken charge of 90 Championship matches during his managerial career so far, and in that time has averaged 1.26 points per game. I think that Eustace has sort of made a name for himself now as a solid, safe pair of hands in the Championship. Blackburn have started the season really well under him. He gets his sides quite well drilled, doesn't he? 18th on the list, we've got Swansea City boss Luke Williams. In general terms, we're still fairly early on in his Championship tenure at Swansea City. He's taken charge of a total of 28 matches so far for the Swans. In that time has averaged 1.29 points per game. Obviously, Williams really made a name for himself during his stint in charge of Notts County, the sort of football he had them play in. We've seen a few signs of that at Swansea so far, but still very much a manager who is learning on the job. I think you could probably say a similar thing applies for Liam Manning as well. He's slightly ahead of Williams in terms of his points per game, but only by the slimmest of margins, averaging 1.3 points per game in the 40 Championship matches that he's taken charge of so far. So Bristol City fans almost have a full season's worth of data under Liam Manning, and there have been a few bumps along the way, I think it's fair to say, haven't there? 16th on the list, we've got Coventry boss Mark Robins, definitely one of the most popular managers in the Championship, but because he's taken charge of so many games at this level, he doesn't have the best of records, only averaging 1.3 points per game throughout his entire stint as a Championship boss. He's probably feeling a little bit of pressure right now. Obviously, Coventry were fancied as one of the most picked sides for the top six before a ball had been kicked. The start to the season hasn't been great, but we've seen Coventry be a slow side to get going under Mark Robins in previous years gone by, but it does feel like they need a bit of a bounce after this international break to get everyone properly behind that team again. 15th on the list, we've got Neil Harris, who averages 1.32 points per game. I think that Harris goes under the radar a little bit for just how much Championship experience he's actually got behind him, a total of 192 games that he's managed at this level. Did a really good job with Millwall, to be fair, during his original stint with the club there, and obviously this is his second time there. He had a spell at Cardiff in between that as well. Hull City fans, what's your verdict on Tim Volta right now? After 9 Championship matches, he's got a points per game record of 1.33. Obviously, very small sample size of matches that we're judging the new Hull City boss by here, and it's been quite up and down in those first 9 games, I think it's fair to say. Obviously, a manager with quite a bit of experience from the Bundesliga too. He came with the promise to play a bit more exciting attacking football. I think Hull have seen a few more examples of that recently, but still early days under him. Also, with the points per game record of 1.33 in the Championship, it's Oxford United boss Des Buckingham. Now, once again, we're judging him off a very small sample size of matches in the Championship, but really impressive that he ranks this highly on this list. It's obviously been an excellent start to the season for Oxford, who were one of the most fancied sides to go down before a ball had been kicked, and they're currently in the top half of the table, albeit is very early days. But I think Buckingham has proven himself as a really savvy manager at this level so far. He's got his team playing a nice brand of football. Oxford are scoring a decent amount of goals right now, and that's despite adding a lot of new players into the mix this summer. All those plates he's had to juggle at once. If he continues to perform like he is, I wouldn't be surprised if a few clubs are looking to poach him away from Oxford. Slap bang in the middle of this list, we've got QPR manager Marty Cifuentes, one of the most popular Championship coaches in the Championship last season. This time around, things haven't been as smooth sailing, only 1 win from 9 for QPR, but the miraculous job that he did there last season cannot be underestimated. He's got an overall record in the Championship of 1.34 points per game. Slightly better than that is Sheffield Wednesday boss Danny Roll. Sheffield Wednesday fans have now almost got a full season's worth of data under the German manager. He's managed a total of 44 games in the Championship, and in that time has averaged 1.39 points per game, which is seriously impressive when you consider what a train wreck of a club Sheffield Wednesday looked like when he first walked into the job last year. Coming in 10th in the table, we've got the current Preston North End boss Paul Heckingbottom, who's got a really impressive record in the Championship, averaging 1.47 points per game. Obviously, his most successful stint as a Championship boss came with Sheffield United, where he delivered that promotion-winning season. And to be honest, I think most of the vibes since Heckingbottom has come in at Preston have been really positive. I think he's been really tactically flexible so far. I think our team looks so much more organised and slick on the ball compared to how he previously looked under Ryan Lowe. That's been backed up in the media with what a lot of the players have been saying about Heckingbottom as well. Watching his attention to detail on the touchline, the in-game tweaks that he'll make to his sides as well, I can totally see how he got that Sheffield United side over the line into promotion in the way he did, and a very likeable character as well, Hecky, isn't he? 9th on this list, we've got Tom Cleverley. I have to say, I've been really impressed with Cleverley since his appointment at Watford. Was hired during a bit of a chaotic time at the club, all things considered, but I know we're judging him off quite a small sample size of matches here. He's only taken charge of 18 matches, but to have averaged 1.5 points per game at a club that can be as chaotic at Watford, I think it's really impressive. Recruitment hasn't always been ideal for him. He obviously lost some big players over the summer, but I think he's proven himself to be quite flexible so far about how he can go ahead and approach matches, and I think what a lot of the Watford fans, generally speaking, are really behind him there. Now, statistically, Carlos Corberán is the 8th best manager in the Championship, but I think if we were ranking all these managers pound for pound, Corberán would probably be in a lot of people's top 3 at the bare minimum, but he has managed loads of Championship matches, 176 in total. He's got a points per game record of 1.56 during that time. If any manager is going to be poached away from their position at their current Championship club, maybe with the view of going to the Premier League, I think Corberán would be at the top of a lot of people's lists. Now, 7th on this list, we've got Rob Edwards, who does currently find himself under quite a bit of pressure at Luton Town. It's been a less than ideal start to the campaign for Edwards, but looking back on his entire Championship record, it's certainly not too shabby, overall averaging 1.59 points per game over a total of 46 matches, which have been split up between him managing Watford and Luton at this level. 6th on this list, we've got Chris Wilder, who I think has proven himself once again to be one of the best managers in the Championship this season. Just continues to reinvent himself, and I'm not gonna lie, there was a bit of doubt surrounding Wilder coming into this season. A lot of people questioning whether or not he still got that magic touch from a few years ago, obviously when he originally got Sheffield United promoted, but they've been brilliant so far this season, haven't they? And Wilder is a manager with a vast experience of the Championship, and in that time averaging 1.64 points per game. Now, there is a reason that Michael Carrick is highly regarded amongst the general fans of the Championship, and that's because he's got a really good record at this level. He got Middlesbrough playing a really attractive brand of football along the way as well. Still a young coach in the game as well. He is a manager who I think a lot of people would expect would eventually go on to managing the Premier League one day. 4th in the table, we've got Johannes Thorup at Norwich City. Now, once again, we're judging him off quite a small sample size of matches, only 9 games he's taken charge of in the Championship in total, but the vibes around Norwich right now are really positive. He's been averaging 1.67 points per game, which isn't to be sniffed at. If Norwich average that between now and the end of the season, they'll finish the campaign with 77 points and will surely be inside the top 6. Taking the 3rd spot on this ranking, it's current Burnley manager Scott Parker. He's already got 2 promotions under his CV as a Championship boss. I wouldn't put it past him making that 3 this season with Burnley. Parker probably is the most polarising boss on this entire list in terms of people that rate him and people that don't. With Parker, a lot of the time I think it does come down to style of play. His teams aren't necessarily always the easiest on the eye, but he tends to get his teams over the line into promotion, which is the final goal. But I think Burnley fans are seeing some of those chinks in his armour right now, certainly from recent performances and the lack of chance creation in recent matches. But I mean, his record at this level isn't to be sniffed at, is it? Taking the 2nd spot on this list, it's Leeds United's Daniel Farke, a 2-time title-winning Championship manager with Norwich City. Points that he accumulated with Leeds United last season in the vast majority of Championship campaigns would have been good enough for another promotion as well. Listen, I do get the frustrations around Farke sometimes. I think he can be a little bit too stubborn at times, late to make substitutions and impact the game in terms of his in-game management skills at times, but I do think when you stack him up against a lot of other Championship managers, he does come out on top, doesn't he? But coming out on top as the best manager in the Championship currently, it's Regis Lebris at Sunderland. Now, this one does have to be taken with a pinch of salt. He's only managed 9 Championship matches, and Sunderland have had an absolutely flying start to the season, but in those 9 games, he's averaged a massive 2.11 points per game. If Sunderland carry on that pace between now and the end of the season, they'll finish the campaign with 97 points. I definitely think the new manager has had a really positive effect at the Stadium of Light, though, how he's got a lot of those youngsters playing, the harmony he's brought back to that Sunderland group that seemed really fractured last season, especially under Mick Beale. Take this one with a pinch of salt because he's only managed 9 games, but statistically, he's the best manager in the Championship right now. But as always, guys, I'd be interested to get your view on this one in the comments down below. Who do you think is the best and worst manager working in the Championship currently? But apart from that, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.